Hi, my name is Hina. Welcome to the Feel Fabulous Show.
I never actually thought about travelling alone, not until a very late age in my life, and to be honest, it was only because I was forced to and had to, and I am so happy I did have to. It was actually in 2014 I had to go to New York from London, which is where I live, for 8 days. Now, 8 days on your own is a pretty long time. Even when I go away with my sons or friends, I generally go for about 5 days. I get really homesick. I'm one of those kind of people. I love being at home and I love being around the people I'm with. So when I do go away, I don't want it to be too long. But in 2014, I had to go to New York. It was actually regarding a car incident that I was involved in about 3 years before when I was in New York, and I had some injuries. Unfortunately, I was in a taxi. So you've always got to be careful when you're in those taxis. Wear your seatbelts. Obviously, mine was broken and I didn't complain about it. But anyway, so the 8 days I was quite reluctant to go. My sons at that time were 18 and 16, so they were old enough to be by themselves, but I'd never actually left them for that long. So I was feeling a little bit nervous about going on my own, nervous about feeling lonely, nervous about being in a city by myself. How was I going to fit in? Was I going to be okay? I actually had a lot of appointments booked up that I needed to go to because I was being examined, my facial scars. So there was an agenda already put together for me, but there was lots of free time. What was I going to do? So what I did is I actually contacted a few friends that I knew in New York and met them for dinners. So it gave me some time to spend with some people and not feel totally on my own. Now, this was in December that I went to New York. My mother actually passed away in October that year, and I was still feeling really numb and not quite down. I was extremely down, extremely low. So I thought, okay, the trip could do me good. It will give me time to myself. It will let me grieve in my own space, because when I'm at home, I cover up a lot with my boys. I don't want them to see how sad I am, and try and act like I'm strong and just trying to be a good role model. It's not about being a good role model, by the way. You should just be able to express yourself. But that was what my thought process was at the time. So I went along. It was okay. I was feeling nervous. Even just going to the airport by myself, it was all just weird. Sitting in the lounge by myself, it was weird. And then sitting on a plane by myself, do I want to talk to the person next to me or don't I want to talk to them? It was these kind of thoughts that was going through my head. But I made it. I made some friends, met up with some friends rather, and it was really okay. I was shocked by about day 4. I would say the first 3 days I was still struggling a little bit, never went out for dinner. I always had room service if I wasn't meeting a friend for dinner, because I still felt a little bit nervous about going out for dinner by myself. But I would say by day 4 I really started to feel comfortable, and I really just started enjoying my own company, which I'd never even done before. So it was a real big eye-opener for me. I met up with my friends. That was tricky because obviously my emotions were really up and down. So I was struggling sometimes to, be a little bit upbeat, but I did. I really put the show on because these friends have made an effort to come out and see me, and I needed to repay the effort and obviously make sure I was a good guest for dinner and not a boring old twat for them. But it went well, and when I got home, my boys were they loved it, obviously, being having the house themselves for 8 days. No wild parties or anything, thankfully, but I did get them lots of gifts. It was around Christmas time when I was in New York, so the lights, the square, the Christmas tree, the sales, because I just went after Black Friday. By the way, if I ever go for shopping, I will go the week after Black Friday. Wow, the deals I got were phenomenal. So lots of Christmas presents for my sons, which they absolutely enjoyed. In 2015 and 2016, it was more family trips with my sons. So my two sons and myself, we did a massive trip to south of France. We did Monaco, Cannes and Saint-Tropez. I'd never been, my sons had never been. So I thought, you know what, let's just do it properly and go through all the cities. And we also went to Malta in 2016 as a family. In 2017, I would say that's when I really started to become a little butterfly, and I felt like I wanted to have some more experiences of solo traveling. So I started looking into what people did, when they went traveling on their own. Number one, you must look at safe places, obviously, if you're on your own. You've got to look at all the guides, you've got to look at where you should be going, where you shouldn't be going. So you're obviously keeping safe. Don't look like a tourist. Definitely don't look like a tourist. Try and fit in. But I definitely felt like I wanted to just start spreading my wings a little bit more and enjoy the sense of freedom that I felt when I was in New York by myself. So in 2017, in April, I'm a big fan of Lorna Byrne. Lorna Byrne is a spiritualist. She talks about how she has conversations with the spirit world and angels, and I absolutely love her. So she was doing a talk in Cork in Ireland. So I thought, great, okay, I get to go away, I get to see her, and then I can fill the void days with other things that I'm doing or want to do. The talk was amazing. I made a friend and we discovered the bar Oliver Plunkett, a very famous bar, live music and dance. It was phenomenal. The energy is through the roof. So if you ever go to Cork, I definitely recommend Oliver Plunkett. In 2017, in September, I decided to go for a yoga retreat. Now, I've never been on a yoga retreat before. I do a bit of yoga, so I enjoy yoga. I enjoy good yoga where there's spiritual affirmations, not just like an exercise yoga. So I found a brilliant retreat in Sicily, in Italy, and it was for 5 days. And I landed in Catania and went there. But on the plane, on the way to, or just as we started to land, I noticed a shape of, I wasn't sure if it was a mountain or what was it, but as I started to figure it out, I realised it was Mount Etna. So, oh my gosh, this just made me go crazy because as a child, I don't know what it was, but I was obsessed with Mount Etna. I just found it so fascinating. I drew Mount Etna all the time, which is how I recognised it from the shape. I just knew it was Mount Etna. So on my way back to the airport, when I finished my yoga retreat, I decided to have a very early start and do a quick day trip to, well, half a day trip to Mount Etna. And I booked myself in with a tour there and went up the mountains. It was amazing, up the volcano rather. It was amazing. It was scary at times because it was, you know, the altitude and the winds, you'd be off balance sometimes, and it was freezing up there. But they do actually give you these boots and coats and all that you can hire, that you need to keep you warm up there. But it was amazing. It was just so, I would say, one of the most liberating, inspiring and exhilarating experiences that I have ever experienced. So that was my trip to Catania and my yoga trip retreat in Sicily. In 2017, I went to Zurich. Again, Lorna Byrne was doing a workshop. So I thought, okay, well, this is a whole day. And I also booked a day tour to have a look around Zurich. I was on the tour and it was beautiful weather out there when I was there as well. So really lucky in October. But I met a girl who was also on the trip. She'd come to Zurich to visit some friends, but she wanted to do something by herself. So she booked herself on this trip. We hit it off, got on really well. So we did the tour together and then went off for dinner and drinks afterwards. So that was a really lovely trip to Zurich, and the place is pretty amazing, I'd say. The trams, and it's very different. I've never been to somewhere like that before at all, actually. Now in 2018, I decided I needed to, I was writing a book, which is also partly why I went to Sicily, the 5-day yoga retreat, because I thought it would give me some me time and I could have some space and write my book. But I never finished it whilst I was in Sicily. So I definitely needed another trip so I could have some space. And I booked Poland. I've never been to Poland. I thought, let me just pick somewhere where I'm literally almost just going to lock myself up in the room in the hotel and just visit out now and again. So it really didn't matter where I was, but I'd never been to Poland and I really wanted to go. So that was a lovely trip. I got there, I started working, doing some work. I'm quite a good writer. I love writing. So once I get the flow, it doesn't take me long. It's just that where I am in London, I've got pets, I've got my sons, there's so much going on, the business, there's so much going on. I can't get into the flow and my energy. I can't get into the right mood to write. So for me, the best way for me to write is just go away. And I did finish my book, by the way, in Poland. So Dance with the Universe was then published in January, I think, in 2019. But anyway, whilst I was in Poland, I put a lovely snapshot up of me in Poland, and a friend had picked it up and said, "Whereabouts in Poland are you, Hina?" And I said, in Warsaw. I described where I was, and he said, "I am 10 minutes away from you." Oh my gosh. This guy I know because I did a presentation at a cosmetic presentation, cosmetic surgery presentation about my work and my tattoo work, etc., and how I tattoo scars. He was there as one of the participants, and that we got talking and got friendly. He's from Madrid and I got some referrals for him. I gave him some referrals. Anyway, we caught up, we had some dinner and drinks. I mean, imagine that, but thinking I'm going to be out somewhere where I don't know anybody, I've got some space, but I had to, obviously, I had to go. I couldn't help myself. But you know what, I finished my work, so that was the main thing. And Poland, by the way, I also booked a day trip tour and did a day trip which explained about the Holocaust. It took you around all the ghettos, and that was really dark and depressing. Would I do it again? 100%. And in fact, I need to, because one day is not enough. There's so much history and so much information that everybody should know, because everybody should know what happened, and it should be taught to the next generations as well, because it's not something that should be forgotten. I'm not saying we need to, think about it all the time. That's really negative, but it's a very important part of history, which I don't think we should just let go. Anyway, so I finished most of my book, and I was then, I thought, well, I just got a few little bits of tidying up to do. So in June in 2018, I booked myself to Portugal. Now, I've been to Portugal before, but I'd never been to Porto. This was the only trip I've ever had, my solo trip, where I'd say I got it wrong. And not because of the place. The Porto is amazing. So, oh my gosh, some of the photos I've got from the seaside, the sea side is amazing. It's beautiful. It's the actual place. I really got it wrong. It was not to my expectations, and I could probably say it happened because I'd looked at so many different places. I ended up booking the wrong one. That's all it was. But anyway, it was fine. I was there to do a job. I got it done, and that was it. In 2018, in October, I went to Dublin. I was looking forward to it. It's another workshop with somebody else. I can't actually remember their name, but it got cancelled. So that was a bit of a bummer. But I'd already booked my flight and the hotel. So I was like, okay, what do I do now? Do I cancel it all or do I go? And I thought, you know what, just go. So I went and I booked a few more trips. One of the trips I booked were to Wicklow. Wicklow is absolutely beautiful. It was used a lot in the film P.S. I Love You. And I'm a big fan of that film. I absolutely love it. So it was amazing. Now, there were two options. You could either do it on foot and coach, or you could do it on horseback. So I chose horseback. And there was only one other lady who also chose to go on horseback. So that was fantastic. We really hit it off. We got talking, and her story was she was there on her own because her and her husband were going to be celebrating their their anniversary, I can't remember how many years it was, but their anniversary there, the wedding anniversary there, he passed away the year before. So she was in the dilemma, should she still go or not? And she decided she was going to go. She had some of his ashes and she was going to scatter some of them there while she was on her trip. That was just an incredible story, but what an amazing, amazing friend, really lovely. We really hit it off actually, and we enjoyed it so much, even though it was pouring down with rain the whole trip. We were drenched. I think I remember we had to go and buy some towels and things from places because there was nothing we could do that we couldn't buy, and there was nowhere to buy clothes or anything. We were just drenched. So an amazing trip, definitely. Dublin I go to quite a few times for work as well, but this was just a really, really wonderful trip. In 2019 I went to Singapore in January. Now, it was actually a work trip. I was there on a course. So I was learning about some gold and silver and gems, etc. It was a very interesting trip. I didn't know what to expect from Singapore. I didn't feel nervous of this one because although I was going on my own, I was part of a group. But again, you know, you can, once you leave the group, you do what you want. So you've got your evenings and spare time by yourself. Again, I got on really well with somebody. So we did, you got to do the Singapore slings, haven't we? So we found all the best Singapore slings in Singapore. Pretty amazing. But Singapore, it was really different from what I expected. What did I expect? I can't quite describe what I expected. But it definitely wasn't that. Singapore is stunning. It's clean. It is so modern. These guys are so advanced and they really look after their people. From what I could see, it looked that way anyway. Later in 2019, I didn't go away by myself, but I wanted to take my sons to Sicily because I knew they'd love it, and I really wanted to take them to Catania and experience Mount Etna, which I absolutely loved, and they loved it too. The photos we've got from there is amazing, really, really stunning images. But we went to Taormina, which was an experience. It was, again, super. The weather was, oh my gosh, the food, the weather, oh, beautiful. Definitely got to go there if you get a chance. I was hoping to be away for this year, 2020, in July, but of course it got cancelled due to COVID-19, not in my control. So that was a real shame. But I don't know. I don't know where I'll be going. I just think overall in travelling by yourself, I think there is definitely a feeling of liberation. So just to recap, why I think I love solo travel is, number one, no compromising. You don't have to compromise. You don't have to say, okay, I'll do what you want today and what I want tomorrow. You can do what you want every single day. You can be selfish. There's no compromising. I love it. Do what you want when you want. Number two, no pressure. Again, do what you want when you want. You can go out for dinner when you want. If you want to skip breakfast, you can skip breakfast. You don't have to have breakfast just because your friend wants breakfast. You can skip lunch. There's so many. I just love it. It's all pressure free. Do what you want when you want. It's just so laid back. Get up when you want. If you want an early night and you don't fancy a crazy night out, go to bed at 9 o'clock. Do what you want. Number three, self-care. Now, this is one of the main important reasons and most important reasons why I do solo traveling, because it gives me time to look inwards. When I did that first trip in New York, I actually learnt a little bit more about myself. It gives you that time to learn about you, which is so important because for self-development and just it's just so important, I think, and to give you your time, your space, give you time to think inwards, think about your thought processes, reflect. It's a phenomenally powerful thing to do. And the last thing is you can make new friends. So it's not all lonely. You make friends whilst you're out there. I mentioned before I do trips, tours when I'm away. So I'll book a tour. More than likely there'll be some people on their own there, or there might be even some couples, but everybody's really friendly. Everyone's really super friendly. You've got to remember everyone's on holiday. They're happy and they're they want to talk about their adventures and experiences. So you can exchange a few ideas and tips, and then you're off on your own again. So you've got the choice, but definitely you can make friends. I've made some lovely friends, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm not sure where my next adventure will be, but I absolutely can't wait. I'm a little bit hesitant and reluctant right now, just waiting for just so it's a bit safer out there for me to go out and just explore the world again. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Maybe you're already travelling solo, or maybe you found some inspiration from this. I hope so. For me, it's been one of the most liberating things I've done for myself. Thank you for tuning in. Safe travels. God bless.